This is Get Your Voice Out There, and I'm Roberta Chadis. Today we have a show that is really focused on a company called Life versus Drugs, and I want to welcome Courtney Judd to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. The subject of drugs and testing is really why you're here.
Yes.
And what I think the audience should know is a little bit about your background and what really made you take this direction. So let's start off with you, a little bit about Courtney Judd.
So my background, I've always done hospice forever, since I was 17. And I loved the field. I loved working with people. I loved helping people. But on the other hand, it was also end-of-life care. So you get attached to the families, you get attached to the patient, and they eventually end up passing away. And that got very depressing for me. But I never decided to stop. So I kept on with the hospice, and a couple of years ago, I had to stop doing the hospice because of an injury that I had in my back. And that got me thinking, why not try to help people live the rest of their lives as much as they can, than helping people kind of take the next step, pass away and be there for that. So I wanted to still help people as much as I could. And the experiences in my life, I felt as though I would be able to help people going through addiction.
Yeah, and addiction is quite a huge subject because addiction can be to housekeeping, it can be to food, it can be to a lot of things that we don't like to think about. I know I'm addicted to sugar, for sure, but I want to just focus on the bigger areas of drugs and alcohol,
Right.
if that's okay with you.
Yes.
And because we have all of this material right out here, we are definitely going to talk about the kit that you came up with for drug testing for teens.
Yep.
But I just want to talk about the fact that the overall awareness of the problems that are out there is important. There's also the prevention, and then there is the recovery. So let's talk a little bit about the awareness now. Awareness being, how do we know that someone that we see on a regular basis is having a problem with drugs?
I think the awareness of this whole topic isn't taken too seriously by a lot of people. Just because maybe it's the fact that they don't want to know, or they think that somebody will come out of it on their own. And a lot of people that we've tried to reach out to and work with haven't been very responsive because it's such a controversial topic. So what we want to do is get people aware of how much a younger person can be affected by this before it's too late, before they become completely physically addicted. We want to get them the help that they need before they hit rock bottom. As much as possible.
Exactly. So we're talking about denial. We're talking about being afraid, having the fear of, what if my child is taking drugs?
Right.
What if my parents are, right? So there's a lot of psychological issues involved.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yes.
So let's say I have a child at home and maybe they're in their teens. What are the things that I should be aware of? What should I look for?
So with the people that I've talked to, the most common age group for people starting to use drugs are people in, sophomore, junior, senior in high school, and usually it'll start from a sports injury. A lot of people I've talked to have had children that were injured in sports. They were on a roll, they were on the football team, they were all these sports, and then they'd get injured. And the first thing the doctor would do So they prescribe them pain medication because, you know, that it's really needed in some cases, it really is. However, going back to when I was doing hospice, you can be anywhere, in anybody's home or anywhere that you're going to be, and there could be access to opiates or other drugs like that. So if somebody were to come to me and say that they had a child at home and they didn't know if they were using drugs or not, I would tell them to look out for the major signs, which are irritability, more of an attitude, not opening up, eating habits changing, different friends, new friends that they're not really telling you about. And, you know, just kind of being aware about it and educating yourself on the subject is really what helps the most.
And sometimes avoidance of the subject. Everything looks fine, right?
Right.
And it's just not fine.
No. If somebody has a feeling that they have a relative or a child that's using drugs, then in our opinion, you know, it's best to just find out right away. Trust but confirm is really what we're going by.
And how would you approach someone that is in your family? I would imagine we'll start with the family, and just talk about this kit that you have. And I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about these tools.
Okay. So here we have the urine sample cup, and it has a temperature strip, the black strip right here. So it can't be tampered with, really. A lot of people will try to falsify drug tests by using somebody else's urine or by adding water to dilute it.
Okay.
And then you wouldn't get a clear reading from a test. So this would be the cup. And then we also have single panel for benzos, which are anxiety medications such as Klonopin, Xanax, Ativan, things like that that are very often used alongside with heroin, causing a lot of the overdoses.
So this would be dipped in.
Yes,
the urine?
This would be dipped into here, and this is the single panel. This is just one test. And then, so we also have a multi-panel, and this tests for 14 different things. So anything that anybody can ingest, if they're on something, it will pop up in here.
Wow.
So anything, even as far as cough medicine, it will come in here.
And they do this with professional sports people, right? They need to be
all the time.
Drug tested all the time. This is the same type of testing, I would imagine.
I know in high schools and in certain sports it is. Other places will do blood tests and stuff like that. And then this that we have here is actually a hair test. And it can go back, this is sent out to a lab and it's analyzed, and then the results are mailed back. And this can go up to 5 years of any substances in a person's body.
So just a strand?
One strand.
One strand of your hair?
Yep. One
Amazing.
strand.
And that could be picked up arbitrarily.
Yeah.
Really, if you
it could be,
didn't want to.
Yeah, that's really our discrete testing method, is that. But that's, you know, it's not for everybody. It's not meant to break trust. It's not meant for anything like that. We're trying to save lives. We're trying to help people. So if somebody's going to be upset that they feel like somebody kind of broke their trust and it got them into a rehab or a detox, then that's okay. That's okay if they're going to be upset.
Yeah.
Because it'll eventually, you know, it'll save their life.
It's true. It's like, I'm wondering, the intervention part is, how do you approach someone? Do you sometimes need a third party to talk with the person that might be on drugs and might need some help? Yeah,
a lot of the times parents or family members will call in somebody to kind of mediate the conversation. And, you know, it'll help walk them through step by step. This is how you are now. In a year from now, this is how you're going to be. And you kind of lay it all out in a positive way rather than you're doing drugs, you're in trouble now. You know, it's very delicate the way that they talk. And there are a lot of great people that I've come in contact with that actually do that all the time. And it's very effective, in my opinion.
Well, there's a lot of issues going on out there with drugs and people who need help.
Yes.
And I know that we're talking about the awareness, and more of the awareness is, where do people go? What's out there for people who either need help, or they need a home, or they just need support?
Well, there are certain types of drugs that people can't just say, okay, I'm going to stop today, this is it, because they could have very bad side effects.
Exactly.
Seizures, you know, and we don't want somebody to try and stop using drugs and then have a health issue because they tried to stop improperly. So it all depends on what type of drugs they're using. You know, for instance, if somebody is using heroin, and that's the big problem right now, for the most part, if somebody is using heroin, then they would go to a detox. And from there, after they're feeling a little bit better, then they would go to a sober home. And being in a sober home, you know, you have to really abide by the rules. You have to have a job after a certain amount of time. You have to check in, you're drug tested, there's chores that you have to do, and it's very effective having somebody that hasn't been in a routine for so long get back on a routine. Just the routine alone can really help somebody and pull them through.
And does it cost money to go into these locations?
It does, and it's very, it varies from place to place, from town to town. So a lot of people right now are going out of state, and their insurances are covering a lot of it actually now, which is great. But you know, it's really hard for somebody to find a bed when it opens up. You know, they could sit there all day and call around to places, and then they start to get sick again. So instead of trying to find a detox, they'll end up using again. So we're trying to be the middle person in there and help them get the help they need.
I know, we should at least show your logo so that people are familiar with that.
Yeah.
And we'll have that come up for Life versus Drugs, because I think the name that you selected is so important. It is a story about life versus being on drugs, because of the whole need for a substance to change your life.
Right.
And really, it's not helping at all. There's so many products out there that we can get addicted to. And I just wanted to accentuate the fact that people can be more observant about the way their friends or their family is behaving. I know when they start not really taking care of themselves, their hygiene goes down. And I took a couple of other notes. You know, they're maybe skipping off on school, or
isolation as well.
Yeah, they're spending a lot of time by themselves. So I think it's really important, and especially in eating habits, if they're not eating healthy. I think that is a big clue. So, okay, we have the awareness. Now, what do we do about prevention? What are some of the things that are out there to help people?
I think a huge part of prevention is just being educated on the subject and knowing the signs to look out for and knowing what the drug does to somebody, no matter what it is. It could be alcoholism, it could be drug addiction. You know, it's all kind of lumped together into, as long as you're educated about it, then you have a better chance of seeing the signs and catching it before it really starts to affect somebody's life. Because like you were just saying a minute ago, the quality of life that somebody has.
Right.
It's diminished when they're always looking for that next fix, and they're happy for a few minutes, and it's very, very dangerous, first of all, but there's no quality of life there. So teaching people how to have a great quality of life sober compared to drugs is huge. People need to be educated, and on our website that we have, lifeversedrugs.com, it has, you know, everything that you need to know about signs to look out for and a huge part of awareness. And I think that's really the base of it, is making people
and
more
not to
aware.
run away from it, right?
Not running away from it, dealing with it. And, you know, if somebody feels like they need help, they need to be the one to make the call. You know, because when it gets that bad, usually they've been cut off by family. They're going from house to house trying to find a place to stay. They don't have money for food, but they're willing to do crazy things to get their drug of choice. And it's a very unhealthy way to live. And we're just trying to, you know, open the eyes of people that have the chance to help these people before it gets really bad.
And that's why you're out there.
Yes.
Really. Now, I think we should probably talk about the price for these kits as well. It's fairly inexpensive, I think.
It is. We do a kit for $19.99, and that's the special for, you know, that we came up with over the holidays, because we really, really want people to be able to just have something like this at their disposal.
Right. And I just wanted to make that point that this is not an expensive proposition to help someone.
Right.
So it's not like hundreds of dollars.
Right. And I mean, even if you
could really help someone.
Yeah, if you had a child that was using drugs and they went to a detox and then a sober home and then they came home to you and everything was going good, you know, you would want to have at least the 12 panel in a specimen cup, just in case. So if they know that you have it, it's always going to be in the back of their mind. Like, if I use this, they might test me, and then I'm back at square one again. So it kind of just puts a little scare into them, and it really has been effective for a lot of people.
So early detection is great for younger people, but I am also in the senior care area, and there's a lot of drugs out there for seniors who are in pain. Have you seen issues in that area as well?
I have. When I was doing hospice, I also did a little bit of home care as well. It wasn't 100% hospice. So I have seen that a lot. And what people try to do when you're going into houses and you're helping people with their medications and you're helping people with activities of daily living, you know, you can monitor their medication. And if somebody needs pain medication, then, you know, they really need it, especially if they're older. However, if you keep track of this, it's Tuesday, and there was 30 pills in the bottle. You go back the next week and count them and see who's distributing the pills and how many are gone and how many the patient took, and you really want to keep a good eye on it.
In a lot of facilities, they lock the medications up, and they have to sign off on every time they give the medicine, which I think is amazing.
It is.
Really.
Yeah,
that's very helpful.
In nursing homes and things like that, they do have their own lockbox, and it's probably signed off by 3 different people sometimes. But
well, it has to be, because some of these seniors have dementia or other issues. They can't remember if they're taking the drug. They could take a pill more than they should, or not take them at all. So you're also dealing with getting addicted or over and having side effects, bad side effects.
Yes.
And that's not a good thing either. So age is not necessarily the common denominator here.
No.
You can hit anywhere.
Absolutely. And I think the best thing is, you know, if somebody's outside of a nursing home and they still need outside care, come into their home, everything should still be locked up. It should still be written down every time it's taken.
That's true.
You know, just precautionary.
That's true. And I wanted to also ask about the Narcan nasal spray.
Yes, so this is the Narcan. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a nose spray. So if somebody started to overdose or did overdose, and actually even if they weren't breathing anymore and there was no heartbeat or anything,
Oh my.
this sprayed up their nose will...
Want to hold that up just a... It's called naloxone?
Naloxone. So it could bring them back up, and
it's like an emergency kit.
It's 100% emergency, yeah. And it
Yeah.
really, really has helped tons of people. I mean, the police officers and the firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend that's a firefighter, and last week alone he distributed 64 doses of Narcan.
Oh my God.
And sometimes it takes more than one dose, sometimes 2 or 3, but it all depends on what was taken or consumed by the person.
So when you have an addiction, we'll just talk about a drug addiction. What is it that keeps you wanting another fix? What is that? What have you seen?
So from what I've seen and in my experience, I've had people very close to me that have gone through this, and they turn into a different person, and it's not them. And the drug just completely takes over. A lot of the times they get sick, so they need the drug just to feel better, not necessarily to get high, but just to kind of stay at an even keel all the time. So somebody could be injecting heroin, 5, 10, 15 times a day and not get high once because they've been doing it for so long that they need it to not get sick. And it's a very, very physical addiction, as well as alcohol and the drugs such as Klonopin and Xanax and Ativan, all for anxiety. Those mixed together are very, very dangerous. And they put a lock on somebody's body, and they just need it.
It's unbelievable.
It's very sad.
Yeah, and sometimes people will mix alcohol with drugs too. They'll
Yes,
be
that's
having
very dangerous. Very, very dangerous.
2 addictions, and you just really have to be aware that a person
Yep.
is in trouble and
Right.
help them. Yeah, I'm really very happy that you're out there. I don't know if a lot of people understand how to help someone.
I think that's a major issue. People don't want to approach it. They don't want to, hurt somebody's feelings. They don't want to, bombard a family. But if somebody really needs the help and you're trying to help, you really can't do any wrong. If you're putting your hand out and you're saying, this is what we can do, these are the steps that you can take, back to the intervention. If it's laid out in front of somebody in such a way that they can picture it, and then they can picture being well again, that's really the goal. And that's huge for recovery.
And reaching out a hand to help someone, even if it's painful. It's this, I'm sure there's a certain amount of fear involved when you're addicted to not having what it is that you think you need.
Right.
What's going to happen to me? How am I going to feel afterwards? Who's going to even talk to me if they find out that I'm on drugs?
Yep.
There's a lot of secrecy, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, lots. Somebody could be on heroin for 8 years. I know somebody that was on heroin for 8 years, and I never knew. I never knew. Always awake. Like when you think of heroin, you kind of think of somebody falling asleep or nodding out, and that can happen a lot. But this person that I knew was always laughing, always joking around, always ready to go. And then when I found out about their addiction, we stepped in and we wanted to help. And now they have, after we have helped them and we laid out a plan and we said, you're going to go from A to B and we're going to be here in between and we're going to help you with whatever you need. Now they have almost a year sober. So it's really good to see somebody go from somebody that needed the drug to not get sick to a whole new person that actually has a great quality of life and likes waking up every day, and they're not thinking, where am I going to get my drugs?
It's true. It's a very sensitive subject. I think that our audience might want to connect with you, of course. So you want to just tell them what your email address is? That would be great.
My email address is Courtney@lifeversusdrugs.com. And it's also on www.lifeversusdrugs.com.
And they can connect with you on your lovely website, which is also Life Versus Drugs. This is going to be a name we're going to hear a lot, I'm sure. And it's a really easy website to go to. I've looked at it several times. And you can you don't have to give your name.
It can be completely anonymous.
So you can help somebody without giving, just being there for them.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say here.
Yep. I mean, we're not social workers. We're not people that work for a big, huge company that the state is involved in. We're just people trying to help other people. So everything is still, there's still patient confidentiality that we really go by. And even if somebody emailed us and said, you can tell the world that we've emailed you, we're not going to. We really wouldn't. Everything is completely confidential on our site.
Yeah, it's so important because we are dealing with people who are at risk.
Yes.
And you don't want to complicate things by making them feel even more uncomfortable about getting better. So this is really a good thing. Courtney, really, I hope we'll stay in touch and see if there are other things that are down the road. There are more places for people to go to and ways to just help people not be addicted and have a lot of a happier life, a fuller life.
That's what we're aiming for. That's what we're really trying to do for tons of people right now. So hopefully we can get the word out and have people more aware of the subject itself, and everybody can help everybody else.
Thank you, and thank you for taking time to come out to get your voice out there.
Thanks.
So this is Roberta Chadis, and we'll be back to you with another show soon. Thank you.